Good day. I'm Gary Molloy, Commissioner of the Virgin Islands Department of Labor. We're here this evening because we want to be able to talk to you about a lot more about the information that the Department of Labor has been sharing. We're here with another opportunity to talk to the community, provide some information surrounding our Labor Month activities. Labor Month has been, the month of September has been proclaimed Labor Month, Labor and Awareness Month, and Labor Management and Awareness Month. Governor Bryan did the proclamation early, and the month of September, annually, the Department of Labor has done our part in trying to make sure that we not only celebrate with our staff and our family members within the Virgin Islands Department of Labor, but we also make sure that we include the business employers, employees, job seekers in making sure that we have information, talk about our programs, all the opportunities, and surrounding Labor Month and making sure that we are quite aware that the Department of Labor is just not unemployment insurance, labor relations, workers' compensation, and any of the other things that we are known for more very easily. I want to make sure that we go very easy and have a very nice and relaxed conversation this evening. We're going to have a panel discussion with, we want to talk about labor management, and we want to talk about the issues surrounding labor management. So this evening, I have with me some panelists that will help us to be able to navigate through. We'll learn a little bit more about that topic. We're also going to be able to, get a perspective from, as it pertains to what's happening with the public, what's happening with the public sector. We're going to get to hear from the Virgin Islands Labor Management Council Committee. We get to hear from the Division of Government Personnel. We get to hear from the EDA. We get to hear from Vital itself. So what I want to make sure that we do, again, let's have a nice relaxed conversation, and let's talk about labor management. And I'll give the opportunity to introduce the lovely ladies that I have on this panel this evening. And let's start with...
Hi, everyone. My name is Wendy Wheeler. I'm the Human Resources Manager at the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority.
Thank you. And we can go, let's go to our former Assistant Commissioner and the new...
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Richardson. I'm the Director Nominee for the Division of Personnel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Florine O'Dane Hassel, and I am the Assistant Director for the Division of Personnel.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Judith Tutine, and I'm the Executive Director for the VI Labor Management Committee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nisha Christian Hendrickson. I am the Assistant Commissioner and Legal Counsel for the Virgin Islands Department of Labor.
So thank you. So this evening, we want to be able to, we're going to, again, be as informal as we can. I just want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. What we want to be able to do is look at it in, we're looking at it in 4 parts. We want to talk about, let's start about what is Labor Management Committee, what is labor management all about, and let's talk about the purpose of the committee, and let's start our dialogue. Let's start with the Virgin Islands Labor Management Committee. The Executive Director, Mr. Tyne.
Okay. Good evening again. So the Labor Management Committee is a committee that are used by labor and management to improve the workplace environment. And we provide workshops that are designed to improve the practices, and there are a list of programs that we have that we would share tonight. And we do so by going into the government agencies and doing in-house programs.
Government agencies, in-house programs. So you are an entity, a government entity, you are
We are nonprofit, but we're funded by the government.
Nonprofit funded by the government. And so your primary responsibility is to help to promote?
To promote a good workplace environment.
Good workplace environment. Thank you. So anybody wants to chime in again to talk about?
Well, at the Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority, we actually have our collective bargaining agreement, which includes establishing a labor management committee. So we have to have equal members in that committee, equal members of management and equal members of the union. So basically, I know last year we reached out to Ms. Tutine, and they did provide the do's and don'ts training to help us begin establishing our labor management committee. So they do have a variety of trainings that are available for government agencies to establish that labor management component for their agency.
And one of the things that I find interesting about the offerings that they have is that sometimes people assume that if you are a manager, that you automatically come with a whole host of skills automatically. And the trainings that they offer do provide, you know, a bevy of information so you can become, and of course, everyone does better with a little more training, so.
So just focusing on just what we just talked about so far, we getting the idea of what labor management is all about. So it's not one against the other. We're talking about getting together
Right.
and making sure that we're working towards a better working environment. And let's hear from the government HR department, if you will, you know, the Division of Government Operations Personnel.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Commissioner. One of the things here, and just in regards to that collaboration and having that equal balance, I think what's important to note is that that committee is important to have on hand because it's actually the first place that some of the issues that some of that employee and management may be having, this should be the first stop. This is where they should go to before it actually becomes a bigger issue, before it becomes a grievance, before it gets to that arbitration point. So having that committee there actually helps management kind of manage some of the issues before they become a major issue.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's explore that a little more because normally we're talking about labor and management, so you're talking about unions, you're talking about some sort of collective bargaining agreement being in place. So these committees, are they discussing issues in the collective bargaining agreement or things outside of the collective bargaining agreement?
For me, good evening, everyone. The two of them should get together and discuss any and all issue relating to labor and management. If a union employee, or another employee has an issue, they should be able to bring that to the committee and discuss it before it becomes a bigger problem. It could be safety and security for all employees. It could be a management decision that they may want to discuss and disagree with, but that committee is where they should go to have that dialogue and begin that conversation.
And provide solutions.
Correct.
And provide solutions so that everyone has an equal place at the table, that's why it's balanced, and to also be able to, because sometimes the best solutions come from, you know, unexpected places, so sometimes it's best to have that at equal footing.
And the important component to that is that their discussion cannot be anything related to a grievance. So they can speak on any topic, but it should not be a grievance issue. So if it's a grievance, they cannot discuss that.
So it's off the table.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So
That's where you get there before it becomes a
Yeah.
grievance, right? Because once it's a grievance, you have to go through that process. So we hope it, by having labor and management together, that you could resolve a lot of those issues before it gets there.
So basically, you're fostering dialogue at the very early stages.
Correct, exactly.
So let's explore that a little more because who should be on these committees? How do we go about making sure that there's good representation? Because, you know, sometimes we have a tendency to think that the person who is the most vocal or the most aggressive are the ones that we tend to have in the leadership. So how should we balance that?
Well, I think Ms. Wheeler should answer that question since she just formed her committee
Well,
last
okay. So our committee consists of management, of course, and the CEO designated 2 members from the St. Croix district and 2 members from the St. Thomas district, so that there's a balance between the districts. And then the union, they decided who they wanted to represent their side of so management did not make that determination, the union made that determination. So it was equal numbers on both sides as well.
Okay, so is there a formal process that is then entered to outside of the agreement in terms of how we meet, agenda, how frequent?
Well, the HR director usually would create that schedule, and I think you have
So-
set into the meetings.
Yeah, so I was in the meeting when we started establishing, so in order for them to begin, we had the dialogue with the do's and don'ts with the Labor Management Committee for the Virgin Islands. And basically, the committee decided to have a structure. So they are in the process of doing a labor process agreement. So they know how the meetings can be functioning, so everybody knows how to vote, what's quorum. So they're making that determination before they move forward and having meetings that's not structured, because organization helps with resolving things swiftly. So,
And we do go in to, or since everything is virtual now, we do virtual meetings with the agency to organize. So we help them organize, and then they move forward on their own.
So your agency is going to help if the government agency, any department needs to be able to help to get this process rolling. We call you.
We call me and we get there.
Excellent.
I'm going to put my former assistant commissioner, now new director nominee, because I know within the Virgin Islands Department of Labor for a while now, you were a part of our committee that was called the
Bringing Labor Together Committee.
Bringing Labor Together Committee, or acronym BLITZ. And you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, that committee started at the request of the employees, just wanting to have some sort of committee to kind of lead employee events, and also to have that avenue to the office of the commissioner. So that's where we started there, and it built up. It became more of a social club, but it was also there were certain members on there that they felt that they could be able to come to express their concerns, and to be able to take some of those issues to the executive leadership. But it was also, like I said, it was a way to bring the staff together and to just boost morale on a whole.
And a fantastic job. And again, while it might have evolved to be more social, a lot of changes, a lot of ideas, and it pretty much opened up the dialogue. It was a lot easier to have a non-threatening conversation. They even got as formal as electing officers.
Yes, correct.
Nice.
Looking for a budget, planning, deciding that they're going to be a part of annual things, and just making sure that on certain days of the week, I used to love when I come over on a Tuesday or a Friday, because I know what's going to happen.
Breakfast?
And that's one of the things we always stress in our programs too. You do little functions like that. You recognize the employees. You have your employee of the month, employee of the year, or their birthdays. You want to have something for them. Have a potluck at the end of the month. That helps boost the morale in the workplace.
Anything else that we could talk about this topic? Getting me ready to.
I think we have a good grasp and we just invite everybody who doesn't have one to connect with
We sure do.
Ms. Sutain to make sure that we do have them put in place.
So again, by law, I think it's Act 4440
That's correct.
that's been created in Title 24.
Chapter 12.
So this is a requirement that each
Government agency is to have a labor management committee.
So EDA is on point.
Huh? Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're good.
Yes. So again, thank you for that. That's the first segment. The part one was really wanted to get us to explore what Labor Management Committee is all about, how it's made up, who we can contact in the event that we need assistance in getting it going. And we also have examples already that's happening, and it's the way that we get individuals together, because it's not only work, it's about the environment they create and how it all leads to a better productivity and a better overall working environment. So let's go into a little tougher segment, which is part two, where we talk about, from your perspectives, what are some of the key labor management challenges that's affecting the public sector right now? And if you will, talk about some of the approaches that we might think about how we can, address them. So,
You want me to?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start. I would say trust, communication, and a sense of fairness. Those are some things that could derail any process if you don't have it. At the Division of Personnel, with our wonderful director, Ms. Cindy Richardson, she has an open door policy, and she has started doing one-on-ones with the staff. Because when you're new coming in, you have to start an open dialogue and have that communication going, right? So there's a sense of trust. There's a sense, hey, I want to know what's going on with you. What are your needs? What can I do to assist you? So that's something that most organizations don't have, and the union employees feel as though, well, I can't talk to management. They won't listen to me. Or this one is getting something and I am not getting.
Right. I think go ahead. One of the things I think also is really having clear communication and an opportunity for, sometimes the employees don't really know some of the concerns that management is balancing. So when you have dialogue with them, let them be very transparent about what is happening, and continuous dialogue. Having continuous dialogue, having quarterly meetings, or even monthly meetings, depending on what the situation is for a larger group. And then when you get to the smaller groups, having continuous dialogue, then the employees feel heard, and then you can kind of deal with some of the issues before they become greater concerns.
well, let me just interject. How do you balance the fact that, remember now, there's a chain of command, there's supervisors, and so you don't want it to be seen that I'm skipping the chain or I'm going to the commissioner when I bypass my supervisor. So how do we balance those things?
It's up to the head of department, right, to set the tone. And to say, you have a supervisor, you need to go to your supervisor. In too many organizations, we say where people bypass their managers, line managers, and they go straight to the top. And then they come back and say, well, the commissioner said, and then the senior manager person is like, I just had a conversation. You didn't even come to me and give me the opportunity to address your concern. Because some things can be done and taken care of at that level, and it don't need to go up. And then progressively, it can go up the chain. But it should send them right back down to their manager.
Right. Empowering the middle managers.
Or the middle manager, yes.
And that's where we also comes in to build that trust between the rank and file, supervisors and managers, the heads. You train. But without training, you won't get that, you can start to build that trust with training. We have, like, one of our programs is employees and employers' rights and responsibilities. Once the employees know their responsibilities and the managers and supervisors know what their responsibilities are, I think when time comes, it's more of a better communication on that side.
So as an
Trust.
organization, as a department or agency tries to get this committee together, you're saying that through your organization, you can help with training.
Yes.
And so how would we go about getting that training and getting that set up?
Well, well, in the past, we've reached out. Even this year, we reached out to certain agencies. We haven't really heard anything back, but you can call us. You can call us, and we schedule at your availability, because we're pretty much open. So we let you pick your day, your time, your month, whatever, your week. And sometimes we do 2 to 3 days workshops or 1-day workshops.
So you're expecting the head of the agency or any of the supervisors, or can any of the individuals in the rank and file or employees reach out?
The rank and file can reach out, but then we have to get approval from HR. And if HR approves, then, of course, HR already done talk to the head.
So everything is going through the HR to help facilitate. So
Right.
That's a secretary.
That's, she's the
Yes,
facilitator.
That is correct. When we established the Labor Management Committee, it came down from the CEO at the time, and then it was directed to HR to establish the Labor Management Committee. So the appointments were made, and we were like, hey, we don't know how to start this. Let's reach out. So I actually reached out to the PERB, and I was redirected to the VI Labor Management Committee. That's how I met Ms. Tutine. And basically, we dialogued and stated like what our concerns were, what we are trying to do, and she was able to provide us with dates, times, whenever we were available. If we couldn't do the full day, she accommodated whether it was half day.
Right.
So that it was comfortable for everyone. So for that, I appreciate their training that are available, and it was very informative. It gave us a head start because they provided the material for us to begin the committee, and we're working from that in order to establish our process agreement, we call it.
So who pretty much keeps track of how many agents, if every agency has a committee?
We do. We do.
And so,
And as of right now, I think it's only Department of Labor. Well, if you, well, we have EDA, we have Port Authority, which I think it's not
Semi,
right, it's semi. Yeah, so we're trying to get there. We're trying to get the committees back, because it's in the collective bargaining agreement. So we have, we just keep to, although we get knocked down, we just keep trying until they give in and say yes.
so this is timely. So
This is
to
it
help,
is.
we're going to help.
Yes.
We're going to help you help us in the
Yes.
Virgin Islands to be able to not only stay in compliance with the law, but also to be able to try to make sure that each department and agency has a better working environment.
Right.
and really it's a win-win for everyone.
It
right?
is.
Because you're getting the training that it's going to help both management and the employees. I mean, recently we had a workshop through our Labor Month activities on conflict resolution, and it was clear that being able to have both management and employees come together to discuss topics that are going to benefit both is very helpful. So we can only imagine, only good things can come from having this committee.
Yes. For those that have created labor management committees, they're functioning. They bring their issues to the committee before, like the commissioner said, that it becomes a grievance, and they're happy. They're moving along.
I think an opportunity for you to try to reach out more is to reach out to Division of Personnel. If it comes through HR, we have our HR officer meetings, and they do a lot of training with the HR officers, and maybe that's a platform for you to express what you guys offer, so that other government agencies, the central government, are able to know what's available, and then you set an appointment, So I think that's an opportunity to partner with, instead of you trying to do it alone.
And I know.
So you can have
Partner with
100%
the Division of
participation by the next
Personnel.
time.
Right.
So here we go, labor, we're putting us together. Making sure. And so again, those things that we have talked about, and the strategies that the training, and we talked about the agencies that have been doing it, because I can tell you in labor, it's been a great success for us to help to diffuse a lot of situations, because sometimes, if the stress and strain happens, especially now in an environment when the stress level or the tension is so high within the department, not just saying, not because of me, because of this pandemic that we're in.
Yes.
I'll tell you, the workload is tremendous. And so you actually look, as you walk the halls and you visit staff, you see the stress and strain in individuals. And so you really have to be able to say and get to know them and say, we got to give you a break. We got to make sure that this is happening, because at the end of the day, we're all human. So we need to make sure that the things that are in place are actually working, and examples of where they're working, we're willing to help and showcase in any which way. But I want to make sure that every agency knows what is available in terms of that they can look forward for assistance from the Labor Management Committee.
Well, we have, like I said previously, the trainings is available. You want me to go down the list?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So we
Please.
have managing conflicts for supervisors, dealing effectively with unacceptable behavior, supervisor and staff steward relationships, employee-supervisor relationship, contract administration, discipline, sexual harassment, employer-employee rights and responsibilities, and grievance handling. So those programs are available. You can call, schedule an appointment, a date, time, get more information. We send it out to you. We send out we do an agenda, a very detailed agenda as to what each topic is, we'll talk about. And we schedule a time and we come in and we do our training.
And is there a maximum number?
Huh?
Is there a maximum number that anyone can access?
Since it's a pandemic, yes. Well, we try to do it virtual, but if you have space that our employees can be, to CDC standards, then we come in and we think, but usually no.
Okay,
25 the most.
And we can coordinate, so you're coordinating a lot
Yes,
more with
with
the division
personnel.
of personnel, because they have access to all the HR directors.
Yes.
And so,
That was a good idea.
so anything else we want to share on that topic, in terms of any challenges that we saw within the public sector?
I think challenges for most employees, to add to the trust and communication, is change. Whenever there is change, there is fear. With fear, lack of trust, lack of communication. Communication happens, but not with the people it should happen with. So I think that is actually one of our major challenges, is when there's change, how do we build back trust? Because it's the fear of the unknown.
And you're so correct. And it's not only change. When you break down change, you got a technical change and the adaptive change. So if it's technical, you can find a plumber, you can find a specialist to help you with it. But when it's adaptive and it involves moving emotions and the fact that I always did it this way, it is going to take a process to be able to move it through. So thank you. That concludes this segment, and what we want to do right now, we're going to take a 1-minute break, and we'll be right back. Please don't leave.
Hi, this is your Senator, Samuel Carrion. And I am proud to be a Virgin Islander, working hard every day to serve you. Because here, we look out for each other. That's why I'm asking you to take Titi Carmen and your primo Jose to get the COVID vaccine. Some say they may ask too many questions. ¿De dónde viene? ¿Cómo llegaste aquí? But that's not true. Only your name, your age, and your phone number. That's it. No ID needed. Así que por favor, vayan a vacunarse para proteger a nuestra gente y a nuestra comunidad.
Thank you, and welcome back to our panel discussion here with talking about labor management committees, here with some very, very enlightening individuals that's been sharing a lot of information as it pertains to what's happening with the labor management committee. So we want to move into the next segment where we're going to ask, I need to find out some more questions about, or answers about, okay, we're talking about labor, we're talking about management, so we're talking about unions and management. And so let's talk about what are some of the things that we think that need to be improved between union and management. Or let's look at anything that you think that needs to be improved between management and employees.
I think their relationship needs to be improved. because for some reason, the union feel like management is working against them. So with more training, that can lighten that barrier.
So I recently had a conversation with a person who had been line staff and then became a manager. And one of the things that they said to me is they didn't have the awareness of what all was being balanced. And once they moved and they realized that there were a lot of other things in the background, like a duck, it looks very solid on the top, but your legs are kicking.
Yeah.
And so once they found out that there was a lot more going on, they had a very different appreciation for what was happening. So communicating some of the challenges that managers face to employees, I think sometimes would help to build stronger relationships.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, like what Nisha mentioned, once we're able to communicate information to team members, have that open line of communication, it helps foster a better relationship. What I did within the authority, our agency, was utilize our EAP program because it helps with many different types of information as it pertains to emotional intelligence, how to strengthen your team, change and challenges, how to navigate through that. So there are so many opportunities that's available through the Division of Personnel, Cigna, your agency, Department of Labor. So once we're able to provide the information, and what we have to do though is ensure that we're evaluating that those things that we're training is actually happening. But a lot of times employees, even though they attend trainings because you say it's mandatory, they may not communicate that there's still challenges. So you may not know unless somebody says something.
Right.
So I think part of the challenge, even though we may implement trainings, we have to have that evaluation period to see how things are going, to ensure that what we're trying to see, where is a better relationship, is actually happening, and people feel more comfortable in communicating with one another or with management or with their union.
Yeah. I also think, too, that it's important for management to do that recognition of their staff. It doesn't always have to be a great, big ceremony at the end of the year, but sometimes just something throughout the day or the week or the month of a job well done. That's where the Labor Management Committee comes in. You have these events. It gives you that opportunity to socialize and be amongst your staff, and also for you to just walk up day to day, thank you for a job well done, or I saw you doing this yesterday, and thank you for doing that. That little touch, it means so much to the employees.
That's very true.
And I totally agree, and I can push you guys a little bit because, let me just say this. So we're not waiting until the problem happens.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we still got to work together. And there's still outcomes, there's still results that needs to happen. So how do we balance all that? Because that's where the relationship starts to become fractured, right? Because here it is, you're the supervisor, and you know that your supervisor wants this report by this time, and somebody else has to give you the information, and you can't move until that happens. So how do we navigate that within this process?
So I think that allowing and communicating accountability, and when other people see that you're holding others accountable, then they realize, number one, what the expectations are, and then they can rise to that challenge. And if they feel, again, back to what Ms. Hassel was mentioning, if they feel that it's fair, that everyone is being held to the same standard, it's a very different environment than if they feel that someone is getting a different experience than another person. So I think holding people accountable to what they have to do, but also, making them feel valued. Making a person feel, everyone has a sign that says, make me feel important. And if you do that continuously, it makes a tremendous difference.
Yeah.
And also, you can't always manage through crisis, that everything have to be done no, right? We do understand that things pop up and it happens, right? Because it trickles down, because your commissioner director say, hey, I just got this, we need to get it done now. It's like, okay, I'll do it. But every single day, it becomes the same thing. Then your staff get burnt out. Then it'd be like, what, really? Can't we kind of manage it a little bit differently? Can't we kind of foresee the issue before it becomes a problem? And then we know in many agencies, you don't have the money to pay overtime. But yet we want it done by 5 o'clock, and we just said it at 4 o'clock. But we need it by 5 o'clock.
So again, balancing fairness, scheduling,
Correct.
having discussions, knowing your employee and the amount that they could do, setting clear expectations, making sure roles and responsibilities are very, very clear.
And priorities.
Yeah.
If, as Ms. Hassel mentioned, if I know that there are 3 things that have to be done, but this is the most important thing to get done today, or this week, or this month, or even for the year, if I know these are the 3 things that we have to do, and if we do these 3 things, we're in the running, it makes a difference
Yeah.
to the
But
employees.
Setting clear expectations, I think that is huge, Commissioner, because you can't assume that everybody is a mind reader. And I say, I want this done, and then when I go to you, be like, but that's not how I meant it to be. But you didn't clearly explain to me I'm a visual person, right? And if you tell me, Florine, move this from A to B, I'm going to hear or see it how I think it should be moved from A to maybe C, right? And that's not what you're looking for. So be clear in your when you explain something to a staff member, let them know exactly what you're looking for, your time frame that you expect it to be completed. Don't leave them hanging. And when they come to you and they ask you a question, be ready to explain so that they understand. Because too many times an employee will come to a manager and be like, but I just tell you that. You understand why it's, kind of say, okay then, so you didn't understand it, let's go over it so you could clearly understand what I am asking of you and what you need to do.
And if you have that clear, open dialogue, then the employee will feel comfortable to go back and say, I didn't understand, or do you mean this? And then everybody's expectations are met because we all know what we're doing.
Yeah,
You know,
I was going
time-
to add to what both of you guys are saying. Part of the role of a manager, we have to know our employees, the personalities, because how I may communicate with you may not be the same way how I could communicate with you, you, and you. So we have to identify the different personality styles in order for us to effectively communicate with our employees. If we're not able to do so, the communication will fall flat. And people will fail all the time. So we have to know when we're coaches, when we're teachers, when we're mentor, when we're managing. So if we're able to do that, we'll be able to build that relationship that we want, build that trust that we want, hold people accountable, and they know why you're holding them accountable in order for us to get to that end result that we're all expecting. So for me, that's part of management, and I think that's part of what is the challenge on the management side. The challenge to me, from my perspective on the employee side, is the feedback part. When you say something, sometimes the employee just watches you like, okay, another thing now. And basically for them, it's like, she just wants to give us work all the time. And it's like, they don't care, we have lives too. They're working from home, we got children, we got this, we got that. And it's like no consideration, but the reality is you have to say something. They won't know your situation if you don't give the feedback so that they can make some level of accommodation, so we're compromising. And the other thing too is knowing your conflict management style. Because if we don't know our conflict management styles, we're going to always have conflict. And it's not going to be the good conflict, the progressive conflict. It's going to be the bad conflict where we end up in the grievance mode. So if we know our conflict management styles, that will help. So again, Ms. Tutine has the conflict management trainings, EAP has conflict management trainings. There's a lot of opportunities out there for us to build those relationships.
Oh, I thank you for that, because everything was sung in all kumbaya. You bring in the G word, grievance. So that's always, as a manager or a supervisor, when you hear that, sometimes most people take a step back and take offense or think it's personal, but it is the only way to resolve the process, right? There's a process. So when kumbaya is not there and we can't get anything, there is a formal process that goes through. So it's nothing personal. It's about that issue of the grievance. And so now everything that we've been talking about is to try to not get there.
Right.
But we do know that there are going to be times, no matter what, we're going to get there.
Right. But if you have buy-in from the employees, and if they know what the goal is, the overall goal, or where they fit in. Sometimes employees don't know where they fit in the larger vision. They don't know what that one thing that they are doing daily, how it fits into the larger goal. And so then they have pushback, or they don't really focus in the way that we need them to focus because they don't understand. So,
And we mentioned earlier, when even though we're talking about, again, labor management committees, when an item or an issue gets to the grievance stage, we are expected to follow the collective bargaining agreement and make sure that it's timely, and we follow all steps on both sides, because both sides, it's identified very clearly what the timeline is to file a grievance, what the timeline is to respond, what is step 1 or level 1, 2 or 3, and then what happens. It's a clearly defined process in the collective bargaining agreement. And so, and there are always stages. At any stage it can be resolved. And so that's why it's very important to make sure that it's grounded in something that, an issue that cannot be resolved any other way.
Yeah, and you also touched on change too. And I think it's also important for management to realize that sometimes they're making those decisions around a conference room table, but it's always good to get down, with the staff, involve them into processes that you're looking to change, new policies, and get their input, especially if it's going to affect the way they have to work and their conditions. So they always feel part of the process as well.
Very well said, because again, we had I have a good example. We had a couple items that we had planned, well planned out, but it was planned from the 10,000-foot level.
Yeah.
And then in the implementation stage, we actually saw that, and again, because our employees, they're my family, so I'm not going to tell you anything good or bad. They're my family, so I'm taking the good, the bad. We're going to resolve everything, and what happens in-house stays in-house.
Stays in-house.
We're going to work it out. But, some of the employees are bold enough to say, you have got to be kidding. I mean, this is not going to work. And so you have to be open enough to receive that information and understand that, because at the end of the day, I really and truly want to send a message out to all that's listening and viewing that government employees are some of the hardest working individuals that are in this territory. I feel we get a bad rap that there's a misnomer or if you will, that government employees are lazy. And I can tell you that we need to make sure that we dispel that, because I look around in the Department of Labor, I look around in all these different departments and agencies that my fellow cabinet members are leading. Individuals are there working hard, they're working late, they're trying their utmost best with the resources to be able to make a difference. And so everybody in this territory, we all want the same thing. We just go about it a little different. And so we need to make sure that we start with respect, we respect the process, we do our best to make sure we come in line with doing the labor management committees. And as Cindy mentioned, we got to listen to the ground. You have to listen to the employees that are actually doing the day-to-day. They're going to help. They help solve the problem.
Yeah.
Totally agreed.
So I think anything else on that area?
I just like to say you cannot manage in a vacuum. You cannot manage behind a closed door. You have to basically open your door and kind of get to know your employees. And trust you me, when you get to know them, they'll get to know you. You could know when an employee is having a rough day and may come out and just say, hey, what's going on? You look a little down. And sometimes we just don't speak to our employees.
What I would like to also add is that not just with the grievance process, because if the grievance is not dissolved or resolved, you can go through mediation.
Correct.
In order to resolve the issue, or you can end up going to arbitration, which can cost at least $2,000 per day.
Oh, per day. Oh, I was about to say, at least 10 overall.
Per day.
You're
Per day.
the Office of
Per day.
Collective Bargaining.
Yes.
So,
Per day.
I hear you. So even within the process, there's a process in terms of when things formally move out of our jurisdiction in terms of the agency, and then the point becomes another agency.
But even outside of the cost, the financial cost, you really want to build those bridges between employees and employers. So sometimes even if you go through a legal process, a person may not feel heard, truly heard. And sometimes it's an apology, sometimes it's a different change in work circumstance that really will make the difference. So sometimes, oftentimes, the arbitration process doesn't really get to the heart of the issue. So it's always better to try to do it at the beginning, which is going back to the Labor Management Committee.
And just know we're talking from the perspective here of management and public, so we definitely are going to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk to the unions, because I'm
course.
sure they're listening and they're waiting for an opportunity to say, listen, I know even in your department, I have some grievances, I have some issues that you need to resolve. So we definitely want to make sure that we continue this conversation and make sure that we hear all sides, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to get to the area of getting a real good functioning labor management committee in throughout government.
And just to say one more thing regarding the trainings, we also have, you could also go to the PERB, the Public Employee Relation Board. They have a number of trainings also that can help you. They do mediations, they do arbitrations, yes, but they have, steps and trainings that can eliminate the grievances.
Yeah, I've used PERB too. So I utilize all the resources
Yes.
that's available.
We've access to some of the trainings.
Lot of resources, lot of programs, lot of opportunities to be able to stop us from getting into real
grievances.
protracted issues if we start with communication, trust, and continue to build with our employees. So let's take this opportunity to take some questions. I know that there's some individuals that's been on our live. Want to make sure we get anybody that's on live their opportunity to ask some questions. And that's the last segment that we want to be able to make sure that we get some questions in there.
The question is, how do you build this open work environment and culture in very old systems?
So I would start with saying it all starts with one person making that bridge. One person going to either the direct supervisor, and as Ms. Sutai mentioned, you could even reach out directly to the Labor Management Committee to begin the conversation to go back to HR. And of course, also start with HR. HR often is the heart of any agency. So if you go to HR and you say, this is a concern that I have, how can we foster a greater relationship? To me, that's always the best way to start.
Okay, so, and we're talking about old system. The system is not old. The system just needs to be enhanced, right? It's broken. You say the system is broken? Because again, we talked about the process that's been in Act 4440 has been around since what, 1980s?
80s.
Right, the 80s, yeah.
So this process has been there. So this is an avenue for us to be able to build on. So what we need to make sure is that we need to have that sit down with the management and unions within that particular agency to make sure that we start with the Labor Management Committee with the dialogue, making sure that the Division of Personnel and the HR directors help to facilitate that process, and let's look at that in a new way.
I think too, I know some people may have heard about emotional intelligence, some people may not really know what it is, but the reality is that change always happens, and we have to be prepared for any change to come. Like COVID, we had to be prepared, even though we didn't know it was coming, and we had to change very quickly and adapt to the new normal, because technically this is the new normal. So I think once people understand themselves, because with emotional intelligence, there's 4 stages. Self-awareness. If you understand yourself, what triggers you, and you're able to manage it, you would be able to change and adapt to any circumstances. So the second component is self-management. So once you're able to do so, you could start fostering those relationships, those open lines of communication. Because if change happens and you're fearful and this is how it always been, why they coming here to change, and not realizing the change at this moment, it might be a lot. But when you look at the future, it makes your job much more easier. So that third aspect is the social relationship understanding the people around you, the personalities, because you understand yourself first and foremost. And then finally, the relationship management, which is that component, the final component, maintaining those relationships, knowing the personality styles, knowing the conflict management style, knowing who you are. That's the first element for you to open that line of communication and build the culture.
And feeding off of Ms. Wheeler, give the organization an opportunity. Because too many times somebody new come in and you hear is like, before they even get their foot in the door, it's like, well, ain't nothing gonna change around here. And no matter how much sometimes you try and say, let's work together to bridge that gap, and how could I work with you? Well, you know, everything that you say sound really, really good and fancy, but ain't nothing gonna change around here. So we need to come out of that mindset and be open and receptive to embracing change.
And you're leading us into closing statements, and that is great. Let's start having some closing remarks, because we are ready for change.
So I would just say in closing out that, you know, one of the things that we should always think about is that the past is the past. We can build our future together. And, you know, each day we have an opportunity to start afresh. And so, you know, we could say this day, tomorrow we're going to be able to build better relationships, work through our challenges, and really create a better Virgin Islands. So that's how I would close out. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the Labor Management Committee, I thank you guys for inviting me. I'm glad we had the opportunity to speak to the public. I hope the government agency heard us, and I will look forward to the calls and creating those labor management committees within the agency.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank Commissioner Molloy for inviting the Division of Personnel here. It was, I think we can be the agent of change right here, right now, with what we just did tonight. And I'm happy that we're able to meet Ms. Tutine, because what we can do right now is to offer her the ability to partner with some of our HR webinars that we're doing with some of the other agencies, to be able to speak and introduce herself, so that she can able to touch all of these government agencies to be able to possibly start or enhance some of their labor management committees. So I just want to thank you for inviting us here tonight and the opportunity to share and have this open discussion, because one of the things that we do need to do is take advantage of all of the opportunities and resources, not only by our departments, but all of the departments within the government. You know, just today, we hosted a disaster preparedness webinar, and we partnered with VITEMA and the Department of Health. And the information that was shared, you know, it was invaluable. And, you know, just listening here, I think it's a great opportunity for us to just share the wealth of resources with all of the territory.
I want to also echo the director in her statement. And September being Labor Awareness Month, I would like to also thank Department of Labor and our awesome host, Mr. Gary Molloy, for hosting this informative forum. Of course, my director, Ms. Cindy Richardson, for allowing me to be part of this great panel. And let's continue to work together to strengthen the bond between labor and management.
Thank you. Ms. Wheeler?
Okay, so of course, I would like, on behalf of the IEDA, I would like to thank Commissioner Molloy for extending an invitation for me to be a part of this panel. And I hope that everyone learned from this conversation today and see that there's so many resources that are available. I mean, EDA uses a lot of resources. I'm going to put a plug for our agency. We do, for example, VITEMA, we've worked with them, even showed them our all-hazard emergency plan. I mean, if you guys have questions and you want to reach out to myself or Ms. Shirley Jones-Peters, who work with me, you can feel free to do so as well. We would point you in the right direction if you don't know where to go as well. So I hope that all that you have heard today is informative, and we will be able to build better relationships for the future.
Thank you all for being wonderful panel. It made life very, very easy for me. You know, I started off mumbling in the very beginning, and we were able to relax and get us really, really going. So, you know, I want to take this opportunity to thank my staff for making sure that the planning of the labor management activities and Labor Month activities on a whole, we've been doing an awful lot to make sure, again, that we bring information and community awareness about different aspects of labor, because, you know, we're in a tremendous time. Our esteemed leader, Governor Bryan, has been doing a tremendous job leading us through with Commissioner Encarnacion through this pandemic. And it's only through leadership that we're going to do that. And we definitely in the Department of Labor have to make sure that everybody is ready for the world of work. We have to be able to get the balance. We are in an environment where now this is going to be the new normal. And again, change, it's going to have conflict. We're going to have know how we're going to resolve it. We're going to have to know our process. And we all have to be grounded in the fact that we all want the same things, which is the best for the Virgin Islands and for each and every agency to do what they need to do to serve the public. So with that, I want to take the opportunity again to remind you that we still have ongoing activities. There's a Labor Relations Summit tomorrow that it's from 9 a.m.
Right, till
and
12:30.
it's,
Till
I can let
12:30.
Nisha, you can
Sure.
talk because it's your area.
Yes.
It's labor relations,
Yes, labor
workers'
relations.
rights and protections.
Right, so it's going to be from about 9, we're having people log in at 8, but from 8:30 to about 12:30, we're going to have, first of all, workers' compensation. We're going to have a presentation from OSHA, a presentation from the Hearings and Appeals Unit, and a presentation from the EEOC to be able to touch all areas, all the changes that are happening in reference to the COVID pandemic, and of course, vaccines. So we really recommend that you all come out tomorrow to be able to take part in that Zoom presentation.
So again, I want to wish you guys and everyone listening and viewing a happy Labor and Management Awareness Month as we continue with our activities to bring as much information to the community. I just want to make sure we put a plug in there also that we are also making sure the Governor's Workforce Development Summit is coming up. It will be October 6th on St. Croix, October 7th on St. Thomas, and yes, October 8th on the island of St. John. And in addition to that, the Department of Labor is out there in the communities making sure that the Skills for Today program is really being launched. We're out in all the housing communities. This month, we're in St. Thomas. We've been at Curran Terrace. We was at Oswald Harris Court yesterday. We will be at Bavoni next week. Bavoni Apartments will be there next week. And then we go over to the big island of St. Croix, and then we come back. So again, there's a lot happening. Please stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in.